Long before mortals carved out kingdoms or kindled fires by dark mountain passes, the sky was thought to be a tapestry of bright souls. Each star, so legend said, was alive, an ancient elder floating in the cosmic sea, guiding those below with gentle radiance. One of these stars, brimming with youth and curiosity, let its glow wander too low. It thought it might better see the world beneath the clouds if only it drifted a little closer. Night after night, it inched earthwards, entranced by the swirling blues of oceans, the deep greens of mossy forests, and the flickering orange lights of village torches. But celestial majesty does not mingle with mortal soil without consequence. What began as an innocent descent soon became a plummet through the atmosphere, and that yearning star tumbled downward in a tail of golden sparks. Upon bursting into mortal view, it was no gentle landing, but a cosmic collision, a thunder akin to the chorus of heaven being torn awake. Fields and meadows wilted in the intense heat, and townsfolk from leagues around rushed to see the searing glow fade into a crater. They called it a wondrous omen at first, proof of heaven's grace. But for those who dared to peer into the newly formed cavern, the glimmer of star stuff revealed something else, stirring in the depths. Beneath layers of disturbed soil and shattered bedrock, an ancient gate cracked open. Within it lay obsidian figures, as still as statues but shaped like colossal warriors with faceted skin that caught the starlight. None could recall precisely which chronicle spoke of them, though old songs whispered of giant guardians buried in the earth since the dawn of days. Some insisted they were once protectors, fashioned by forgotten god-kings to defend the realm from nightmares beyond the horizon. Others claimed they were monstrous punishments, chiseled from dark volcanic glass by vengeful deities enraged by humanity's arrogance. Whatever they had once been, the star's impact jolted them from their deep slumber. Their limbs twitched, their obsidian exoskeletons scraped against the rock with a sound like 1,000 knives dragged across stone. At first, the villagers felt only the faint tremor of the ground, believing it to be aftershocks from the star's collision, but soon midnight roars echoed across the valley, and eyes of glowing magma lit up in the shadowy crater. The obsidian giants had awakened. In his candle-lit study, an old scholar named Bryn pored over archaic texts by flickering lamplight. He alone seemed to recall fragments of a prophecy whispered across time. When a fallen star merges its heavenly flame with the obsidian hearts of the earth, an ancient legion shall rise to deliver cosmic judgment. Slow, measured steps brought him to a weathered scroll, the corners stained with age and the script nearly illegible. It told of a falling star so enamored with the mortal realm that it relinquished its place in the heavens. This reckless act, the text implied, would unseal the guardians or destroyers of old. It was unclear which role those dark giants would truly fulfill. With trembling hands, Bryn unravelled more scrolls. He found references to a cosmic reckoning, an event that occurred once every 1,000 generations, in which the boundary between the mortal plane and the astral sea strained and threatened to break. If the giants, awakened by the star's life force, were not appeased or contained, entire kingdoms would crumble. Though Bryn's eyes were worn from years of reading their dim lights, he set them upon the runes and realized time was short. Gathering his traveling cloak, he left his study behind to warn the realm. Meanwhile, at the crater, gloom seeped into the hearts of those gathered. The obsidian warriors were colossal, each at least twice the height of a towering castle gate. Their black skin glistened with arcs of lightning that crackled across every surface whenever they moved. The star itself lay at the center of the crater, more like a pulsing jewel than a chunk of fallen metal. Its radiance, once golden, had cooled to a dull blue, as though exhaustion claimed it. Yet that faint luminescence still called to the giants, who drew nearer in lumbering steps. A single giant stepped forward, its eyes hosting a swirling molten glow. With each step, the ground quaked, Trees snapped and fell, stones tumbled, and villagers cowered behind the fractured rim in a voice that reverberated like shifting tectonic plates. It spoke a language no human ear could fully comprehend, yet the meaning was terrifyingly clear. It was a greeting, an acknowledgement of the star's presence, and a jarring challenge to any mortal who might stand in its way. Across the kingdom, word spread of the unstoppable black colossi. Some people fled to remote hideaways in the mountains, certain that the end of days had arrived. Others dared to gather arms, forging swords that would likely shatter against Obsidian armor. King Maelor, whose capital city stood just beyond the valley, convened an emergency council. Aware he had no force capable of resisting the giants, he turned to the legends. Bryn, recently arrived at the palace, was quickly ushered into the royal hall. There, in front of gilded tapestries depicting the realm's glorious battles of the past, he revealed the prophecies. Cries of alarm spread through the council as he spoke, yet there was also a flicker of desperate hope. Bryn believed that this lost star, though it had unwittingly awakened the giants, also held the key to controlling or appeasing them. However, reconciling that cosmic power with mortal ambition would be no small feat. The star was an emissary from the cosmos, touched by divine energies beyond existence. To harness it required an equally extraordinary soul. Rumours emerged of an unassuming travelling bard, Talum, who had once ventured into distant desert lands that touched the edges of night. He claimed to have glimpsed the astral choruser, a phenomenon where the voices of stars could be heard singing in unison. While many dismissed Talum as an eccentric entertainer, Bryn recalled a line from the prophecy. Only one who has heard the heavens resonate can attune the star anew. Gathering what resources he could, Bryn convinced King Maelor to dispatch a small party to find the bard. In hushed corridors, the plan was discussed. Talum would attempt to converse with the star, bridging the gap between celestial glow and mortal realm. If it could be convinced to retract its power, perhaps the giants would return to their slumber. One blacksmith's apprentice, a sturdy young woman named Cana, volunteered to accompany them. She was deeply troubled by the tales of obsidian giants roaming the farmland where she had grown up. Determined to protect her family, she joined Bryn on the expedition. Into shadowy forests and across swollen rivers they travelled. The quake of giant footsteps still reached them, resonating like distant drumbeats, a grim reminder that time was not their ally. As they crossed the basalt pillars beyond the capital, strange phenomena occurred. Wildlife fled, and the skies crackled with faint auroras at dusk, as though the cosmos itself were leaking into the mortal realm. Finally, they found Talum at a roadside inn, reciting an old ballad to a weary crowd of travellers. With an urgency that brooked no delay, Bryn explained the situation. The bard listened, eyes widening at the news of the fallen star and the awakened giants. Although he was no warrior, the thought of his songs echoing across a devastated land seemed too dire to bear. He agreed to help, uncertain if his talent was enough, but certain that they must try. When they returned to the crater, the spectacle was overwhelming. The star's pulsing glow had brightened once more, though now it hummed with a violet intensity. The obsidian giants roamed the valley in a slow, methodical pattern, as if searching for something. Their movements had caused rifts in the earth, releasing geysers of superheated steam. Houses lay in splinters. The farmland was shattered by enormous footprints, yet strangely, the giants did not stray too far from the star's resting place. It was as though they were tethered to it by an invisible cosmic thread. Villagers brave enough to remain were forced to keep watch at a distance, anticipating the giants' next move. Bryn peered at them, recalling the ancient texts. Could these be the watchers of the cosmos, ensuring no mortal tampered with the lost star's power? Or were they a doomsday legion, sent to punish the star for turning its back on the celestial order? Talum, trembling but resolute, approached the crater, stepping carefully around slabs of upturned rock. Cana was by his side, her blacksmith's hammer clutched tight, a makeshift weapon should trouble arise. The star lay before them like a beating heart made of crystal. Its faint, melodic hum resonated through Talam's bones. He mustered the memory of the astral chorus he had once heard under desert skies. There, he recalled, a strange hush had enveloped him, as though the entire universe paused in a single harmony. Now, he closed his eyes and tried to let that cosmic melody enter his mind once more. His voice, at first a shaky whisper, grew stronger as he found the pitch. A haunting, lilting tune rose, soft but resonant, a weaving of mortal voice with the star's subtle vibrations. Sparks of blue and violet flickered around Talam's hands, matching the luminous pulses that rippled across the star's surface. For a moment, the giants halted as if mesmerized, their glaring eyes dimmed from molten orange to a flicker of ember. Bryn, standing a short distance away, held his breath in awe. The prophecy's words whispered in his mind, "When man and star share a single voice, the barrier shall open." Though uncertain what barrier the scroll spoke of, he sensed something intangible shifting. The star's light rose and formed a faint silhouette above the crater, an image of cosmic swirls and unknown constellations. Talam's voice quavered, uncertain of what might happen next. But the star responded, projecting an echo of its own celestial song that harmonized in a grand cosmic chord. The battered ground rumbled once more, though not from the giants. This was a gentler quake, an alignment of realms. In that instant, Talam sensed a presence vast, ancient, and not entirely kind. The star had not fallen by chance. It had been cast out, exiled for its forbidden longing to be closer to earthly life. But the star was not alone in its exile. Radiating from the star's luminescence came the faint silhouettes of other cosmic entities, stars, comets, or perhaps something else entirely, that hovered in the brink between worlds. The Obsidian giants roared in unison, their voices shaking the horizon. The tension escalated. The star's luminous aura flickered, as though battered by unseen gusts. Talam tried to maintain his song, but the unwavering fury of the giants broke his concentration. With a thunderous crash, one giant swung its massive obsidian arm at Talam and Cana. Cana reacted swiftly, using her hammer to strike the ground. The shockwave destabilized the giant's blow just enough for both of them to dodge. Angered, the giant reared back for another strike, each movement cutting the air with lethal force. Bryn shouted warnings, while others, hiding behind the crater's ridge, let out screams of horror. Realizing direct confrontation was futile, Talam renewed his song, this time weaving in the notes of mortal vulnerability and hope. He sang of the star's wounded spirit, of how it yearned for unity rather than destruction. Cana joined in. Though she knew no cosmic melodies, she sang of battered farmland and the gentle streams of her childhood. The combination of Talam's astral tune and Cana's earthly lament gave birth to a new harmony that was both sorrowful and uplifting. As they sang, the star's light grew radiantly bright with a kaleidoscope of color. The closest giant paused mid-swing, transfixed by the kaleidoscopic display. Roars faded into uncertain murmurs, and the swirling glow in their eyes shifted, dancing with hues of regret. Slowly, the star's shimmering brilliance formed a bridge between itself and these dark guardians, an invisible thread that tethered them inextricably. Bryn watched in awe as the runes of the ancient prophecy seemed to come alive in his thoughts, tracing lines of fate that had lain dormant for centuries. The star, once an outcast of the cosmic order, bore within it a longing to protect the fragile life below. The giants, shaped from the deepest obsidian, had been designed to interpret that star's will, though they had awakened in the chaotic collision, uncertain of the directive. Now, with Talam's and Cana's heartfelt pleas, a seed of understanding took root. This was not a war cry to subjugate Earth. It was a lament for communion lost among the stars. The celestial chord trembled on the edge of resolution. In that moment, the star's violet glow surged, streaming upward like an aurora that painted the night sky. The realm fell silent, mesmerized by an image of cosmic grandeur forming overhead. A swirling gateway, revealing faint glimpses of stardust plains, nebula storms, and primordial figures drifting in the void. Some among the onlookers knelt, unsure if they beheld a portal to paradise or doom. The Obsidian giants turned their heads, seemingly drawn to that cosmic vision. Their huge forms trembled with an unspoken yearning, as if the presence beyond the portal called them home. One by one, they let out deep, resonant groans that rumbled through the valley. Each giant strode toward the swirling gateway, their obsidian bodies dissolving into spiraling shards as they stepped through. It was a migration, no longer a pillaging army, but a legion returning to a far greater demand. The final giant paused, glowing eyes turned upon Talam and Kaina. With a gesture that might have been gratitude or recognition, it bowed its colossal head, then it too vanished into the gateway's shimmering expanse. The star lingered behind, its surface pulsing with subdued contentment, as if relieved of a burden it had carried for eons. Talam, his voice hoarse and tears streaming down his cheeks, gently laid a hand on the star, feeling its warmth humming through his entire being. Bryn approached with measured steps, mindful not to interrupt. A hush fell over the crater, broken only by the distant sobs of joy and trembling relief from villagers who realized they might live to see dawn. Kaina wiped sweat and tears from her cheeks, her grip on the hammer loosening at last. There, in the center of that devastated valley, the star glowed gently, no longer the cosmic beacon of doom, but a testament to the power of understanding and unity. Yet an unease tinged the air. The star, despite bridging realms, remained an anomaly. If it stayed on Earth, the cosmic order could be disrupted once again. Under the watchful gaze of a newly cleansed sky, the three companions realized the final step rested within their hands. Bruised and exhausted, the group carried the star from the crater, its light growing fainter with each mile. Guided by Bryn's recollection of the prophecy, they made their way to an ancient temple perched high on a windswept peak. Legend held that an altar there, carved in the earliest dawn of civilization, connected directly to the astral domain. This temple was rarely visited, for local peasants believed the wind howling around its spires was the voice of the cosmos. As they ascended the winding path, the star's glow flickered, and Talam feared it might fade forever. Upon reaching the summit, the star released a final surge of brilliance, illuminating the ancient stones etched with celestial symbols. Bryn carefully set the star upon the altar, where it hovered an inch above the cold stone, spinning slowly. His hands trembling, Talam once more began to sing. But this time, his voice was joined by a gentler chorus, the star's own melody resonating in tandem. Kaina stood at the edge of the altar, her eyes sweeping across the horizon where the night sky transitioned into the beginnings of dawn. She sensed a hush in the swirling winds, as if all nature paused to witness the star's final act. The temple's runes flared to life, their glow dancing in response to Talam's melody. At that moment, a beam of starlight, bright and pure desolate, from the heavens. It encased the altar in a pillar of luminescence, bathing everything in shifting pastel hues. Slowly, as if cradled by a cosmic hand, the star rose from its resting place, ascending through the swirling light like a reunited child returning to its celestial parent. Talam's voice faltered, choked by tears of wonder and loss. In a final burst of radiance, the star vanished into the sky, leaving the dawn sky pricked with a single new point of light that sparkled faintly beside its ageless siblings. The pillar of light winked out, and darkness rushed back momentarily before the emerging rays of dawn lit the temple anew. For a time no one spoke. Bryn knelt, quiet tears on his cheeks, moved by the sheer enormity of what they had witnessed. Cana held her hammer to her chest, feeling the faint echo of that cosmic resonance settle into her heart. Talum closed his eyes, listening to the fading notes of the star's farewell echo through his mind. When he looked again to the eastern horizon, the day was breaking, gilding the temple's stone spires in gold. In that quiet glow they all understood. The star was home again, and with it, the Obsidian giants had found their own path, their cosmic purpose reawakened in a realm far beyond mortal perception. Word of the event spread quickly, carried by travelers who spoke of the explosive collision, the march of black colossi, and the final, breathtaking ascension. For some, it became a cautionary tale about the dangers of reaching too high, reminding humanity that the cosmos, in all its glory, was not wholly benevolent, nor wholly malevolent, but governed by complex harmonies we scarcely comprehend. For others, it was a beacon of hope, illustrating how a few determined souls, armed with knowledge, song, and courage, could persuade even the mightiest forces to lay down their destructive impulse. In time, the fractured earth in the valley began to knit itself back together, grasses stirring in the morning breeze. Strange flowers sprouted in the footprints left by the giants, black petals glinting with flecks of obsidian, as if the land itself had taken something of that cosmic reckoning and turned it into new life. Bryn resumed his studies, adding his own first-hand accounts to the dusty scrolls. Perhaps, he reasoned, future historians would glean from his records a path away from chaos and toward reconciliation whenever cosmic alignments threatened the realm. Cana returned to her blacksmith's forge, forging shapes in molten metal that subtly mirrored the swirling patterns she had witnessed in the star's radiant aura. Over time, her craft gained renown for its resilience and intricate beauty, as though each piece held a spark of cosmic memory. Talam travelled from village to village, now carrying more than a lute. He carried a myth woven from lived experience. His songs spoke of sorrow and longing, hope and deliverance, bridging the gap between earth and sky. Audiences wept to hear how mighty giants once bowed before the simple harmony of understanding. In taverns and courts, wayfarers would hush and listen, imagining starlight dancing across their eyelids, hearts kindled by the memory of something far beyond their daily trials. And so it was that, in the hush after the star's ascent, a collective sigh spread across the land. No longer forced to live in dread of obsidian gourds of wrath, the people reflected on their fortune. From the new star shining above came a faint promise that cosmic distances could be bridged by compassion, that even shattered realms might heal if mortals dared to sing their truth into the void. Moreover, the occurrence served as a reminder of hidden wonders. If merely one star's longing could set off such cataclysmic and redemptive forces, then the universe, teeming with countless other cosmic lights, surely held infinite possibilities for both terror and grace. Each evening, as darkness cloaked the sky, those who remembered would gaze upward. There, among constellations old, a single star sparkled anew with a mysterious serenity, forever changed, just as the world below had been awakened to the boundless marvels beyond the horizon.